Guardate che meraviglia questa immagine.
Please look at how beautiful this image is. It portrays the Sublime One, as Buddha is called in the East, immersed in samadhi, the most profound ecstasy achievable by human consciousness. The Buddha said, not with vainglory or with ego, but with profound simplicity and inner power, everything that man can achieve has been achieved in me. Simple words, right? This means that the Buddha is immersed in the most incredible peace, in the most profound ecstasy, in the last of nirvanas, or, in other terminology, in nirvana itself, because there are different terminologies in the East, although terms are unimportant. Please look at this image. It is the moment when Siddhartha dies, vanishes, and the Buddha appears. Water is not only a beautiful place where we hear the gurgling of pure water, of a stream, and the birds that come to drink and chirp. Water is also the symbol of the Ganges, the sacred river for Hindus, and a symbol of a being that flows with life and no longer fights against it. There was a young girl who humbly went to bring food to the gods in the forest. And when she met the Buddha at first, she was frightened, because she thought she was in front of a god. The Buddha was immersed in meditation. This woman was frightened, lovingly frightened. Still, it is a beautiful fright, because it speaks of a being that emanated so much peace that it scared people. I repeat, it is a noble and beautiful fright, all the more so since this woman will become a disciple. She will love Buddha, will bring him food, the first food he eats in that famous middle way we talked about. Imagine people walking in the forest and finding a being immersed in nirvana. Simply imagine it, because already by imagining it, it affects us. Tibetan traditions wonderfully say that this moment is one of the most sacred moments in the entire existence of planet Earth. Not of history from here to 1,000 years from now or 2,000 years from now, but as long as the planet Earth will last, which will probably live for millions of years. Of the entire duration of planet Earth, this is one of the most sacred moments in the whole planet's history. Now close your eyes for a few seconds. Just for a moment, with closed eyes, evoke in you this. By evoking this within yourself, you are speaking to a deeper part of yourself, a part that is not only rationality and reason. You are speaking to your being, to your feeling, to your belly. So, with closed eyes, evoke this image, this extraordinary being who had already been a great master in so many past lives, who reaches the supreme enlightenment and sits in a peace incomprehensible to the mind. It has not only become one with the river and the flowers, with the birds, but it has become one with every other human being, with the shining of the stars far away, with the most remote and unknown. Now, do this simple exercise. Imagine to open some bushes and to see him in front of you, like the girl we talked about. And imagine perceiving part of that power, of that peace, of that enlightenment of the being you have in front of you. Slowly, open your hands. And in complete simplicity, bless every person here and now, seeing them able to sense, grow, let go of burdens, and become more accessible, more free. Create a simple image and project it onto the people around you. The mind of everyone may become more receptive, more intuitive, the heart more free and joyful, with the attitude of knowing how to comprehend profound truths. So expand this blessing to the entire universe. May every creature fulfill the reason of his birth, flourish, not only grow old, truly rejoice, not only find pleasures, comprehend, not only understand.
for everything, for all beings. Four noble truths. Here we are in the Buddha's first teaching. First words that the Buddha emits after his enlightenment. The Buddha is essential and powerful. If we misunderstand the terms of the Buddha, we risk that he seems to have a negative approach. The first thing the Buddha brings attention to is suffering. So we will talk a lot about this today, but we'll talk more about it next time. Today, we will face it and begin to enter it. Next time, we will talk about how we prolong this suffering in relationships, in daily life and work, and we do not notice it. So I would like to take the first noble truth with a phrase of the Dalai Lama that I find very powerful and beautiful. A small truth is greater than 1,000 ideals. Why does the Buddha start by talking about suffering? Because the Buddha doesn't want to connect you to the most extraordinary ideal you have of yourself. The Buddha doesn't want to feed your ego. The Buddha speaks so that you become aware of yourself as you are now. So if you start from a small reality, you will find a big reality. If you start from an illusion, you will discover only bigger illusions. Last time we said that Buddha defines enlightenment as the end of suffering. Please try to follow me carefully. Why exactly does the Buddha firstly speak about suffering? We do not know, and in my opinion, pretending we do isn't good either. However, I'd love to share something I feel is very powerful and true. First important thing, happiness is not an emotion. All the mystics say this, also great Christian mystics. Happiness isn't a pleasure, nor an emotion. If you listen to modern romantic songs, and I say this with love, this confusion is found in almost every singer. I'm next to you, you're pretty, I always think of you. Eventually, substance is very little. Beautiful songs, song is poetry, and Italian songs are wonderful. Yet, I say it as a very boring critic, almost every song portrays this confusion. Happiness as an emotion. Happiness as a feeling. So, a feeling is something I feel today and changes tomorrow. An emotion, the term deriving from emotion, something that changes. However, Buddha speaks of a permanent happiness. So it is clear by its permanence that happiness cannot be an emotion. It is not something that moves. Our Italian term mozione comes from English, which is very beautiful. Now I don't want to overthink it, because I love looking for terms in dictionary, the paper one, the one that smells like paper. A bit old-fashioned, I know, but I really like it. According to the mystic traditions, Buddhism too belonging to them, happiness is an inner state of the soul. It is not an emotion you feel. Emotions and feelings are something that can provide you with some happiness, but it is, so to say, a very immature happiness. Happiness, according to all mystics, also in Christianity, in Sufism, in Islam, in the Bhagavad Gita, in these wonderful texts of Vedanta tradition, all of them claim happiness is a state of being. This is a very important thing to understand. The more I try to be happy, the less I am. Somehow, the more I take care of myself, trying to become a happy person, the more I am unhappy. There are many stories in the Far East on this topic. Also, Anthony de Mello loved them. He was telling many stories about this. Now I want to bring the attention to darkness and light from a physics point of view. So, if I say that there is no darkness, what do you think? If there's no darkness, Is light there or not? Let me rephrase it this way. Can I say to you there is no light, but there is even no darkness? No, exactly. Because darkness is not something, it is the absence of something. In Boole algebra, it is called not logic gate. Very interesting thing. It is the absence of something. So if I call darkness as something, please try to understand with attention. If a child can have an idea of what darkness is, actually, it is unreal, as it is only given by the absence of something else. An idea that forms, for example, when a child is in a room with closed shutters and door. Are you following me? I don't want to complicate your mental activity, you just need to try and understand. Darkness is not something, it is the absence of something. Are you following me? What is happiness? It is the absence of suffering. Meaning, I've just made a small leap forward. Meaning, according to esoteric traditions, there is nothing that is absence of suffering and absence of happiness, because your nature is happiness. When you remove suffering, inborn happiness as being children of God, I use this Christian language, inborn happiness emerges naturally. You don't have to look for it, it emerges naturally. Are you with me? I'm speaking about subtle things, but I try to do it by using the simplest language possible. It's not a guru, it's not a specific tradition, it's not believe what I believe in. It's reasoning together to try and comprehend intuitively together. That is, we are talking about a method, a comprehension, not about something to believe in. Let me go back to the previous point. Stay with me. I take the light out of the room. There will be darkness in that room. Yet, you didn't have to bring darkness there. You didn't have to create it. You didn't have to open some bottle to let the gas of darkness out. Or, you haven't turned off the light switch and turned on the darkness one. What I'm saying might sound trivial, but it's not if you take it to another level. I like to use simple words. A great teacher that uses simplicity in speaking is Omram, who is a great master of spirituality. Simplicity is the essence of greatness. So if in a room I take away the light, dear friends, darkness is already there. But now I want to ask you one question. Why there is light? Could we say that on another plane there is also darkness? If you remove the light, there is darkness. But is it possible that darkness on another plane is present even when the light is there? It's already there, and when you remove the light, darkness appears. There is the light, but darkness remains. Follow me, I'm not talking so much about classical physics, rather than of quantum states. I'm about to bombard you with all this information about this, but I will spare you. Still, this concept is very strong, because it leads to the superposition of state in quantum mechanics. Now, I don't want to fire a chat in my style. I'm almost tempted, but I will avoid it. And in quantum mechanics, we talk about the superposition of states, where the great Paul Dirac dealt with mathematics about this madness, and along with the brilliant Schrödinger, together with Bohr, who created a crazy device. Well, it's something of this type. The cat is a little dead and a little alive at the same time. When you observe, you have to fall in one of the two states, the famous Schrödinger's cat, maybe you've heard of it. You don't get off that easy. One day I will bombard you with this information about Schrödinger's cat, don't worry. But now try to understand me. If I comprehend that in this room, while there is light, in another letter that there is even darkness, meaning there is a potential of absence of light while there is light, you can embrace an extraordinary concept if you take it to another level. While a human being suffers, he is at the same time already happy. He is already Son of God. He already is. Are you following me? Therefore, without me chatting tremendously about it, can you guess why the Buddha spoke of suffering? I'm not the one that can tell you. You can also read some beautiful books by various lamas who are much more deep than me. However, no one asks this question, why the Buddha spoke about suffering. Why it isn't asked, it's because no one can reveal it. However, I would like to share this with you. I believe that one reason is not the only one, although one of the reasons is simply this, simply as a manner of speaking. If you take away the light, darkness is already there. Now try and switch it to, if you remove suffering, the human being is already happy. He is already happy. You must not try to be happy. It is your nature. It's a bit like when you win with a scratch card, or even better said, when you lose with a scratch card, because it almost always turns out to be that way. You scratch and a certain number unveils itself. Stay with me. But the number was already there. You only removed something that covered it, and it was already present. Now it might seem absurd. How do you compare scratch cards to noble truths? Yes, because you have to comprehend that simple words are the ones that truly help your intuition. Then, like the scratch card and win card, or better the scratch and lose card, although in this case it's a scratch and win card, if you scratch the suffering off, you'll find yourself already happy. Do you comprehend this? And if you see this, if you embrace this, it's extraordinary.
And
that's why when people say, but the Buddha's message is negative, you don't understand anything. Because if I tell you, and in the bookstore it's full of text titled, in my opinion, a little new age and a bit stupid, like, how to be happy, are you on the right side, or is it the one on the nirvana who's right? I believe it's the second one. Why did the Buddha talk about how to be happy? Because if you try to be happy, you are constructing it. It is not your inborn nature. It's not something that you can bring to the surface, which is inborn in you. It's not something that by following 7 simple laws you become it. It's not about becoming it, because it's something that is potentially in you in this instant. So all that you can become, try to follow me, is not who you really are. And for the Buddha, what you're not is not real. Seems simple, but it's extraordinary. Another great master who speaks with this simple deepness is Ramana Maharshi. He is very powerful in this. So, behind the Buddha's choice to talk or not about suffering, think of the Buddha during this time, sitting down, dressed in rags, with very humble clothes, sitting on the ground, a prince who has abandoned the throne, wealth, opulence, the most beautiful women, not only his wife, he also had an harem, music, the most refined cuisine. He gave up on all this, and after years of profound inner search, along with terrible strains, yet he sits there and freely teaches you and teaches us. For this is for the whole world, I repeat, the deepest truths in the world are not only for Buddhists. And we forget this when we pick up a book titled How to Be Happy. We forget this. Why do we forget it? Because when the Buddha wondered, maybe humans won't understand, he was right. Although 2,600 years have gone by, and even in those days someone did embrace his teaching, and today we are also a little more evolved. It doesn't seem like it, but we are. We are a little bit grown up, and perhaps we are more ready to embrace the truths of the true masters, of the great masters who have offered us this with all themselves for free and humbly, without talking from a lecturing chair. I want to say one last thing, without wanting to be famous. Another extraordinary way, you know that the Buddha in his first meeting speaks about the Four Noble Truths. And again, every now and then during his whole life, the Buddha has lived many years, especially considering the time he lived in. And every now and then he took up these truths and offered them again to emperors, to philosophers, to very profound people. And he offered it again with words that were a little bit different. Listen to this beautiful term, which he offered the Four Noble Truths in medicine. So when I take a medicine, I'm not going to say, wow, how famous this medicine is. Do you understand? I'm not saying, look how this medicine glitters. Hey, my medicine is much cooler than your neighbor's medicine. What do you expect from a medicine to work? To help me not feel bad. I use this term, not to suffer. So, if I can comprehend this extraordinary message, it's simply like a medicine. The medicine has to go deep into me, and I have to give it the opportunity to act within me. It doesn't have to be famous, it doesn't have to be beautiful, it doesn't have to turn me into a cool person. I don't have to take it and expect to have brighter eyes than before. It should make me feel less bad. Are you with me? This is a revolutionary message, dear friends, so let me repeat two essential points before moving on. The first, the essentiality of a medicine, therefore something that allows me to suffer less. I use this term on purpose. The second fundamental point, if I take away the suffering, there is already happiness, and it's the happiness of my natural state, as Zen would say. So what I am naturally emerges without me trying to be it. If I try to be myself, I will try to build myself, hence like a sheep that goes to the hairdresser to look like a lion and gets a mane, and tries to go to singleness to roar better, gets a pair of fake plastic teeth, pulls its chest out, but it's still a sheep. So, in the same way, the more I try to be the real me, less it will be real, because it will be an ego's investment claiming how cool you are if you are yourself, believing that all the rest are jerks and you are the enlightened one. This is an illusion, and please don't be offended. I use this language to try and convey a message, to comprehend it, and simply to pass on a tool. So, the essential, extremely essential, fundamental point. When there is no light, the darkness is already there. If I embrace my suffering, if I comprehend the repetitive states in which I prolong the suffering in me and in those who live around me, I'm already letting it go. And as in the scratch card, may the masters forgive me for the trivial language that they use, as in the code of the scratch card, which tells you that you've lost, that number that was already there reveals itself. In this scratch card instead, I definitely find something in which I win, and I win a truer life. I am already happier without me even wanting it. So in the first noble truth, the Buddha leads us to realize, to become aware of the veil that covers the code of my happiness. It's a bit as if he offered you the coin and the ability to scratch and say, bring out the happiness that you already have, bring out the being that you already are. Well, I can't say it with better words, but you try to embrace it better than this. And if you take the medicine but it just stays in your mouth and you don't send the medicine deep inside, it won't work. So as it goes deep down, certain things go down even without you wanting it when you really relax, as they begin to simply affect you. The greater your comprehension, the less effort it takes. So when you truly understand a thing, that thing begins to work effortlessly in you. On the contrary, it invites you to see, without too many words, that the more you try to be happy, the less you are. In another wonderful speech, the Buddha gave the example of a fish, poor animal, stuck in a net, where the more he struggled to free himself from the net, the more he got stuck in the net. This is an example of how a man struggles in life, trying to be truly happy, while instead he actually becomes more of a slave to suffering, to the network of conditioning, to all that keeps him in a grim and petty life. So, as so many t-shirts say today, keep calm. So, don't fidget like the fish in the net. Sit down to meditate a little bit. Let these messages go deep. Keep calm and get enlightenment.